Today, I invite you to my humble abode for some tea. This is the tea I will be serving y'all today. I'm not gonna lie, I cannot read the Chinese on it because I am semi-illiterate when it comes to Mandarin. But I believe this is a type of Hongcha, which is like Chinese black tea. And I got this as a gift when I went to China this summer for my dad's friend. And it's one of my favorite teas, actually. The snacks for today are 2 gluten-free muffins and 3 lemon cookies. But I wanted to take some time today to sit down and catch y'all up on some new lore updates over tea. I've been chronically online, for lack of a better word, since quite literally my childhood. And I just realized I never properly introduced myself to the internet or given y'all a proper introduction of who I actually am. So I guess this video kind of is like a little intimate get to know me type of situation. As you can see, I am in an environment I have never shown you guys before, and that is because I'm in my very own apartment now. So y'all already know that I transferred to a school in New York City a couple months ago, and my schooling situation has changed again. I won't go into too much detail, but for the past couple of months, I've just been slowly adjusting to New York City and also just learning how to live meaningfully for the first time. Now, that sounds like a very large and vague statement. I know, but I will elaborate. I actually have been journaling a lot lately. I've been journaling every day, and I feel like journaling has definitely helped me learn more about who I am and the type of person I want to grow into. New York City definitely has a way of humbling you very violently, and if you don't adjust to it, it's very painful. Back in December, I moved into my very first apartment ever in New York City. Let me just say, y'all, finding an apartment in New York is very humbling, especially if you're trying to live alone, and especially if it's your first time ever trying to find a place to rent, because I did not have any rental history, and my status for applying to applications, I just said I was a student, because it's kind of hard to explain what a content creator is on apartment applications, because like my job isn't like a traditional 9 to 5, but I still secured a place. This was actually the last apartment that I applied to right before I had to leave the country to go to China to see my family. I don't want to disclose exactly where I live for privacy reasons, and I'm pretty happy with my current apartment right now. At first, it felt very strange living here because this is the first time that I've fully been able to occupy a space. This is the first time I've been truly able to call a place my home. But I've been putting a lot of energy into decorating my apartment and just looking for pieces that I think will last me a long time, and also the pieces I truly love. So I have been on my Facebook Marketplace grind, and it's also like the first time I've truly been able to call a space my own. My room back in my parents' house, it didn't really feel like my own because it was part of my parents' house, if that makes sense. And then my dorm rooms I've been in, like that's university housing, had a roommate both times. The concept of privacy doesn't really exist in a dorm setting. And now here I am in my little studio apartment, and I'm just looking around at everything. This is the first time I felt proud of a space that I've created for myself. It's been a lot of reflection up here and a lot of journaling, but it brings me to my next point, which is this is the first time that I'm learning how to actually live meaningfully. I'm getting adjusted to living life at my own pace rather than forcing myself to adjust and condition myself into adjusting to everyone else's timeline. I think the very traditional track for people my age, at least in the US, or I should say the expected track, is you graduate high school, you go to higher education, right? Usually like it's trade school or it's college. I think more commonly, at least in the communities that I was in growing up, it was expected to be college. In college, you get internship and then you start working that 9 to 5 and you're on that corporate grind. You save up money, you get married, you retire, you die. And to me, that's always what I was conditioning myself and preparing myself towards, even though I knew it didn't sound satisfying to me. How should I explain this even? In our current world, it's very normalized to always be hyper productive, to maximize your efficiency. You know, how much can you produce? That is literally just me describing capitalism. And I'm sure you already know what capitalism is. And if I start ranting about capitalism, this video is going to take a different direction. So I'll keep it short. I guess the issue that I've been really pondering in my own head is my own happiness worth sacrificing in order to be considered efficient? What even is considered efficient in the field that I'm trying to get into? I just don't want to live a life where I've regretted most parts of my life. So as I was saying earlier, right, I've been slowly decorating my apartment to fill it with pieces I love in order to create a space I'm proud of. And I'm trying to take that similar approach with my actions in my life. I want to collect and curate experiences for myself that I'll be proud of later on. So for me, that doesn't look like going into 9 to 5, you know, at least for the time being. And you know, for me, that also just looks like coming back into my creative identity, my creative roots, really, and trying to not live a life of shame and guilt. Because I think for me in my childhood, I was always conditioned to feel just a little bit guilty about anything I did that wasn't directly related to future success. When I say future success, I mean in the context of making the most money, getting a job, getting high grades in school. Whenever I would participate and indulge in my hobbies and interests like drawing or video games, I would always feel secretly ashamed and guilty, even though I knew it's what I loved. But then the things I loved directly went against what I should be doing. You know, unfortunately, the way I am now has a lot to do with some childhood lore. It's very annoying sometimes when you're at a place where you're happy with your life and you're proud of the progress you've made and you've healed a lot, right? And then suddenly something comes up and then you're reminded of all the pains from your childhood and it's like, oh my gosh, I would like to move on.
Leave me alone! Ah!
I suppose adulthood is kind of just sifting through the parts of your childhood that didn't make sense and trying to piece it all together so that you can have a peaceful future. Maybe I'm getting a little too sidetracked, but let me bring this back specifically to social media and why I haven't been as active as I have been in previous years. It's really a combination of things, but I think again it goes back into that deep ingrained sense of guilt and shame that I have that I'm actively trying to unknot and take apart. And I'll start with just giving y'all a little brief timeline of my social media journey. So I actually started posting online at like the age of 11, if I really think about it, because confession, I used to have an anime account on Instagram when I was in elementary school and I would just post anime screenshots. I had 200 followers on there. I don't know. I thought that was pretty impressive at the time. And then when I was 12, I downloaded Musical.ly. I posted art instead of doing like the little lip sync videos because I honestly was not comfortable with showing my face on the internet for a very long time. I also started posting my art on Instagram. And then when I was 15, I started posting on TikTok. And this time, I started posting fashion content. One of the reasons why I wanted to start posting fashion content is I've always really loved fashion, and a lot of the drawings I made as a kid were just based off of fashion things that I enjoyed. It used to be my dream as a very young gal to become a fashion designer, and I did give up that dream for a period of time because I think it's just so common for kids to be discouraged when their dream career or dream future lies in art and the adults are like, oh, why can't you do something more practical? I've always been very into fashion YouTubers, and at that time I was obsessed with Best Dress. She's still one of my inspirations today. I wanted to start with TikTok first at that time because I had a lot of schoolwork and I was also in clubs, and TikTok just seemed more manageable compared to YouTube because at that time I didn't have any fancy equipment and I also didn't really know how to edit. So I started posting on TikTok. During quarantine was the time where I got, I guess, more serious about TikTok. I don't know if serious is quite the word, but I just began to post on there more and I found a lot of solace in the online community that I was able to create by posting. because around that time it was like the rise of alt TikTok, if y'all remember. And for me, like that was the first time where I was able to express myself not just in the pages of my sketchbook. And initially, I didn't tell my immediate family about my social media until I hit like 100K on TikTok. And I was really scared of the backlash that they were gonna give me because I just feel like obviously online criticism hurts, but in-person criticism when it's for a family member, especially if you still want to like maintain your relationship with that family member, is just so much worse. But I guess I didn't really get serious about becoming a content creator until I was 16, and the summer of my sophomore year in high school, I decided to look into influencer just slash content creator management. Now, I never talk about the business side of things when it comes to content creation. Essentially, a talent management agency has talent managers, and what these managers do is they'll work with influencers in order to help them get more brand deals, and they'll help you negotiate your prices. And they're able to do all of this for you because they take a commission out of whatever amount you're making from the brand deal. And to be fully transparent with y'all, I have done brand deals in the past. I'm sure you can tell if you just watch some of my older videos. Like, I did start making money from social media, and I'm very grateful for what I was able to earn through social media, because at that time I was planning on being able to earn money from my social media in order to support myself through college. College in America is painfully expensive, and I wanted to be in as little student debt as possible. But with a lot of these talent agencies, they care less about the quality of what you're posting and less about your actual creative process and more about how much you're able to produce and put out. And the thing that they always stressed to me was a consistent posting schedule. I remember my manager told me, you need to have a consistent posting schedule. You need to be posting every single day, every day on TikTok, every week on YouTube. And for so long, that was the standard that I tried to hold myself up to. And for me, I was definitely struggling with that, both in terms of having a consistent posting schedule and still wanting to put out like highest quality content I can every single time. Like in my head, especially with YouTube, I viewed YouTube as more skills heavy. And what I mean by that is for YouTube, I learned how to edit on Final Cut Pro, and I also animated a lot of little intros back in the day. I haven't done that as much now, which I'm kind of sad about. And then I also learned graphic design through, designing thumbnails for YouTube. I think it also really feeds into the idea of convenience culture and instant gratification for me. With creating short form content and the instant gratification that I got from posting short form content where I could, get likes way more quickly and I would get more views and likes on my short form videos. And because it was also much easier and less time consuming to make those short form videos, poured more of my energy into that, even though it wasn't like as rewarding. And then I also hold myself to very different standards when it comes to short form versus long form content. As a lifelong artist, you're always gonna be your worst critic. And I felt that I put more of myself into a YouTube video than in a brief TikTok. The general reason why I'm spottier when it comes to posting on YouTube is also just that I'm an overthinker. I'm a ponderer, guys. I love to reanalyze. I love to redo something until it's closer to the definition of perfection that I have in my head. And I know there's no such thing as a perfect work, but I just want to be able to create content that's meaningful to me and also inspires other people, right? And with YouTube, I was falling into the same patterns I was when it came to short form videos. And that really disappointed me because the reason why I was very interested in getting into creating long form videos at first was because it was always my dream to be a YouTuber as a kid, right? And the YouTubers that I watched, I wanted to emulate them in terms of their level of production, in terms of the quality of content that they were putting out consistently. And that was just very challenging to do for me because I'm also in school, and then I know there's also other content creators who are in school, but I think I've always just struggled a lot with time management and prioritizing different parts of my life and being able to shift priorities. Because me personally, I love to hyper focus on one thing, but when I hyper focus on one thing, I tend to neglect other parts of my life, and that just caused a lot of burnout for me many times. But I want to be able to sustainably create content, right? I want to be able to create content that isn't just adding additional junk into the web. If I'm going to be so honest with you guys, I am not proud of the videos I've been putting up on my YouTube channel lately. I honestly think the last time I was genuinely proud and excited to post a video was sometime right before I went to college. For some of my older lookbook videos, I would create like full out little character animations, and obviously there weren't anything super fancy, but I remember just being so proud of the way that the intro looked, and I was like, wow, this feels like I'm connecting with my creative side for real. Like, I was just creating videos I thought would do good on the algorithm because they were similar to other videos that performed well in terms of views and likes. Okay, I know I'm being overly harsh on myself, and I'm grateful that people even watch my videos at all. I've noticed there's a big disconnect from the type of videos and the type of media I consume versus what I've been posting. And one of my goals for 2025 was to consume content more meaningfully so that I'm better able to aid my creative process, whether that's graphic design or content creation. A pattern I've noticed in myself is whenever I start posting on social media, for a while, I do things entirely based on intrinsic motivation, right? So with TikTok, that was because I wanted to discover my personal style more. And then with YouTube, it was because I wanted to challenge my own creative skills and explore my creative curiosity in the fields of graphic design and animation and editing. But then somehow I always end up following the route that I think will bring me the most monetary gain. So then I take shortcuts and then I cheapen my own process. And I think it's very noticeable, the diminished in quality of my content, and I notice it personally. And then it upsets me because I compare myself to before, like right when I first started. And I say, well, why aren't you doing this anymore? I know the answer, but I still get very upset at myself, and I have a tendency to over criticize myself. And this brings me to my next topic, which is criticism versus critique. Would it be wild to say that crits are one of my favorite parts of art classes, if not my favorite part of art classes? I just really appreciate hearing other people's feedback on the work that I've created, whether that's good or bad. I think just input from other people on where my skills are falling short and just what I could work on is incredibly helpful, because I feel like when you're creative, you get so in your own head about what you're making, and it's very nice to be able to hear other perspectives. So I looked up the difference between criticism versus critique, and criticism is judgmental and focused on placing blame, whereas critique is descriptive and is focused on finding solutions. It's so easy to criticize, but it's so difficult to provide meaningful critique. And in my creative journey, I've used self-criticism almost as a form of protection for my fear of rejection. Okay, that rhymed. And you might be like, what do all those words even mean together? What do I mean by this? I criticize myself and I overanalyze and tear apart each aspect that I think that I'm falling behind in. So then I ingrain that negative, fearful mindset in myself even more. It protects me from rejection in the sense that I'm too scared to even try, because there's this little demon in my head that goes, do you know how many different skills you need in order to produce something as good as one of your favorite creators? But you know what? That little demon can shut up. It's our first time being alive, living this life, so we should all just be kinder to ourselves and allow ourselves to try new things. I think that growing up is just learning how to actively gentle parent yourself, not allowing yourself to fall back into the same mentally abusive mindset that you've been doing to yourself for all your life. So as we're nearing the end of the video, there are some last things I wanted to discuss in regards to just what direction I want to take my YouTube channel. I think I want to try to create longer videos that are more analytical. What I mean by that is I personally watch a lot of video essays and I just consume a lot of content that relates to our current culture. I want to be able to create content that I would actually watch if I were a viewer. Because, not to sound corny, but I think we can all be a little bit more mindful on the internet, and there's always just the issue of brain rot and mindless consumption online, because I noticed that that's been a pattern that I always seem to get stuck into. Hello, editing Ray here. Oh my gosh, that felt so YouTuber-y. I just want to say a little bit more on this topic because I feel like I didn't actually explain the specific video ideas I had in mind. This isn't to shame the type of content that I've created in the past, and this also isn't to shame anyone who enjoys the type of content that I made in the past. Like, I'm very, very grateful for the support that y'all have shown me throughout the years. I say the things that I said in this video mostly because I want to be able to push my creative identity more. I would like to expand more upon what I've already built in terms of my social media. And obviously this doesn't mean I'm gonna stop posting fashion content because I still really love fashion. But yes, I want to take a more critical approach when it comes to fashion content specifically because I feel like our current society is just so like mindless consumption focused. And I've noticed whenever I post fashion content specifically, people will always just ask me, oh, where did you get this? Or where's the link for this? Or what's the brand? And those are obviously very valid questions because I'm showing you my outfit. If you like the thing, you probably want to buy it for yourself. But for me, I see fashion more as a tool for exploration of one's own identity. I guess you can't really expect someone else to make the tool for you. Like, it's a tool that you create yourself and then you're able to use it for yourself. And this isn't to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna gatekeep all my clothes. Like, no. But I just want to be able to take a more critical approach when it comes to creating fashion content. So for example, you know, maybe like how to build a wardrobe that you actually enjoy instead of just mindlessly following trends. And there's nothing wrong with following trends. That's just an example. And just less focus on where to buy the pieces. And so I want to steer the inquiries less from where is the link for this specific piece or what is the exact brand for this, and more so like, why did you pick this piece to go with this outfit? You know, what are the inspirations for this said outfit? Because I believe that taste is acquired through experience. You can't really commodify and pre-package taste. You can't purchase taste, really. And this isn't to sound snarky or like, oh, I have a superiority complex. Because believe me, I do not. I don't know, I would rather inspire people to discover their own style through personal inquiry than just blindly telling them like what to buy. So yes, that is the end of the ramble for that. Back to the rest of the video. The core reason why I haven't been as active online as I used to is that I just feel like my creative identity doesn't align with who I'm trying to present myself as online. And since I moved to New York, I've been actively trying to change that. I've been obsessed with the idea of being in New York for so long, for like the past 4 years, honestly, because I think New York is just the place to be, at least in the US, if you're into fashion or art, or just if you're a creative, right? I find that I'm able to find inspiration, honestly, everywhere in the city. I know that sounds corny, and I'm sorry if you're a native New Yorker and you're watching this and you're like, what is this stupid transplant saying? I'm so sorry. And I would like to say I'm very grateful that I'm even able to live in New York because I know it's very expensive. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably already saw my New York Fashion Week related posts, but I went to New York Fashion Week for the first time. Like, that is such a mind-boggling sentence to me, and I think if I were to time travel and tell my 16-year-old self this, they would be very delighted and very proud of me. I think even though it's scary, I think New York has taught me that I really am capable of shaping my own life. I really want to get more into creative direction work, and you know, one of my delusional life goals is maybe I'll be an art director one day. And I think for so long, I just told myself I simply wasn't allowed to try because it was just out of line for what I was expected to do in terms of, you know, both what my family was expecting from me career-wise and also just the internal set of rules I pose. If we think of ourselves as a gardener, our life is our creation, right? Our life is our garden, and each new experience is kind of like a new little plant or thing that we're adding to our garden, maybe like a gnome. And you know, whether each experience is good or bad, whether it positively moves you towards one direction or if it deters you a bit, it's still contributing something to your garden. And then over time, the bumps even out and you're able to truly admire just how much hard work you put in. And you know, it's your first time making this garden. You're not a professional gardener, you've never done this before. It's your first time being alive, so if you make some mistakes and maybe one of your plants gets knocked over, it's not the end of the world. Don't be too hard on yourself, because you can always try again, or you can move towards a different direction. So as we're now actually nearing the end of the video, I just wanted to say, learning how to live meaningfully is definitely a challenge, but it is a challenge worth pursuing because no one else is living your life. You shouldn't live your life based on other people's timelines or by their sets of rules. And I think you owe it to yourself to at least try to make your dreams become true. You owe it to the past versions of yourself that's faced rejection and that's backed down from challenges out of fear, and you owe it to your future self so that you can live a fulfilling life by your own standards. I'm putting an end to my yapping for now, and I would love to hear your thoughts on anything I mentioned in the video. You know, like, how have you been navigating growing up? And what do you do to combat growing pains? Not like physical growing pains, like aches in your legs. I mean, like, just like emotional growing pains and overcoming your mental barriers. But I'm sure you already guys. I hope you all enjoyed today's tea sesh, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Okay, I actually cannot reach the camera from here.